Hello again, I'm Dave and thank you very much for joining me here in the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. Now, a lot of the content for the YouTube channel is actually inspired by you guys, people sending me in questions. So if you've got a question, you can do what Anders did. Anders went here and he sent me a question about this guitar. Actually, not so much the guitar, it's actually the pickups. Because a little while ago I did a review of these pickups, the rather splendid Hot Rails for Telly pickups by Seymour Duncan. And Anders sent the question, basically, what kind of pots are you using with these 500s or 250s? So I thought I'd talk a little bit today about pots. Now pots are, well, pot is a potentiometer, pot's short for potentiometer, and they're the things behind the knobs. Now there's not a whole lot in terms of circuitry in an electric guitar, particularly one with like regular passive pickups. There's not a whole lot of components here. The pots are quite an important part of the signal chain and allow you to control things like volume and tone. And the potentiometer has a rating in kilo ohms, and typically on a guitar you'll find them rated at either 250 kilo ohms or 500 kilo ohms. That's what we mean when we talk about a 500k pot or a 250k pot. It's the rating in kilo ohms. And general rule of thumb is a single coil pickup, like you might find on the Strat. That sort of guitar will have a 250k pot, and something with humbuckers will have a 500k pot. So what's the difference? Why does one kind of pickup tend to have one type of pot and so on? Now, there's a popular misconception that the higher rating is because the pickup has got a higher output. It's not that at all. The difference between a high rated pot or a low rated pot is really the amount of treble that it takes out of the signal chain. So a single coil pickup, like you find in the Strat, they're inherently brighter sounding pickup. So by using a lower value pot, like a 250k pot, it removes a lot more high out of the sound. If you used a higher rated pot, it would take out less of the high signal and it would be probably unbearably bright and far too biting. So by using a lower rated pot, 250k, it takes more highs out and dulls off some of the extreme brightness that you get with a single coil, and you get that pleasing Strat sort of sound. Humbuckers, on the other hand, have a inherently duller sound. So by teaming those up with a 500k pot, that's going to remove fewer of the highs, and it helps to retain some brightness. So it just sort of balances out. So the question really, I think, what causes the confusion is with a pickup like a Hot Rail. Looks like a single coil, but it's a humbucker. What do you use? Well, with these, they're very, very mid-rangey sounding pickup. They're quintessentially humbuckery sort of sound. So 500k pots. Actually, with the Seymour Duncans, I quite like the stuff that comes with the Seymour Duncan pickups. You get really good, clear wiring diagrams, and they include rating specification and therefore what like the recommended pot ratings are. But as I say, as a general rule of thumb, single coil pickups 250k pot and humbuckers 500k pot. That's a general rule of thumb. A couple of other things to talk about those. What about guitars where you have a combination of humbuckers and single coils? It's not unusual. I don't actually have one to hand, but it's not unusual to see a guitar that's got a humbucker at the bridge, and then two single coils. What kind of pot would you use then? And generally, I think you'd see that sort of setup would have a 500k pot, so you still have a good sounding humbucker. So you're not taking too many highs out and making it sound dull. And what you'll also have in the circuitry is there'll be some resistor that comes into the circuit when you're using the single coil pickups, and that kind of allows you to take the extra highs out of the single coil sound to stop it sounding overly bright when it's used with a 500k pot. And something else that you might see, and not as common, is if you've got a very, very bright sounding humbucker, using a 250k pot with that will remove some more highs from the signal than a 500k, so kind of, if you like, tame a very, very harsh, bright sounding humbucker. One other thing to mention about potentiometers, as well as like the rating of them, it's the manufacturer. You know, some manufacturers make better pots than other manufacturers. If you get dirt cheap, mass produced in China pots, they're probably not going to be as reliable as something more expensive. I'm a huge fan of CTS. I think any of the guitars I've got where I've swapped potentiometers out, I've replaced them with CTS. They're very reliable. The hard wearing, this is one of the factors. If it's a well-made component, not only will it work well, but it'll work well time and time again. So if you've got something with a moving part, you've got then going against the contact, as you're moving that potentiometer, it's going to wear. A good, well-made pot will last longer and be more reliable. It'll not get noisy, you'll not get little pops and crackles. It'll be better sealed against dirt. And to be honest, the price difference between a really cheap bargain basement pot and really good CTS or Switchcraft or something like that, it's about the price of a pint of beer. It's not really worth saving yourself just a few pounds for something that could wear out more quickly. So if you are replacing pots, it's worth spending a little bit extra. And the pots that you buy, as a general rule, 500k, 500 kilo ohm pot if you're using humbuckers, or 250k, 250 kilo ohm pot if you're using single coils. Okay, so for the benefit of Anders and anyone else who's curious about potentiometers, there you go. As I said at the start, if you've got a question or suggestion for a future video, if you go here, there's a form that you can fill in, and I'll try and get around to answering your question in a future video. If you like the video, please click like, subscribe or comment or whatever below, all the options that YouTube gives you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video sometime soon. Bye for now.